Hello, this is Prashant Kothari, President of SkillBench and founder of Internal Audit Today, a talk show to benefit the internal audit fraternity and beyond. On episode 8 of Internal Audit Today, I'm honored to talk to Grant Wheat, Vice President of Landmark Credit Union. Grant has spent his entire career in the audit field, including Big Four, middle market accounting firms, before transitioning to internal audit in the banking industry. Grant, welcome. Grant, as banking industry is a highly regulated industry, it requires your function to carry out several regulatory audits. What is the importance of qualitative audits that go beyond the regulatory requirements? How can banks, credit unions perform those audits with limited resources?
That is always a fine balance between the required regulatory audits we have to accomplish versus qualitative audits. Finding what to focus on, the best place to start is with your audit committee and so you kind of get the feel what they're looking for, if there's any specific areas they want you to address and provide value on. Other additional areas will be buy-in from your CEO. Maybe there's specific areas that they need some other insight into as well. And finally, just kind of looking at the environment as a whole within your industry. For banking, we had a lot of issues with incentive sale culture that came out from Wells Fargo that saw a bunch of issues there. So just finding what's kind of popular in your industry and maybe adding value and applying it to your institution.
Grant, how would you perform those audits with limited resources?
For our institution, some of the regulatory audits that we have to perform, we use outsource to help free up the internal sources that we have to apply their own knowledge of the institution more specifically to those qualitative type audits.
Are internal controls important since SOX is not applicable to a credit union? If yes, how does Landmark ensure internal controls effectiveness?
So internal controls been kind of more so closely aligned with financial reporting these days due to the SOX environment that the world operates in now. But there's so much more to them than just financial reporting, because internal controls help in managing business risk as well. When we're looking at our audits and making sure control effectiveness is there, we're focusing on such strategic controls such as policies and procedures. Are they up to date? Are they addressing risk and systems that we actually have in place? Operating committees, what are they looking at, focusing on? Is it valuable information that they're using, analyzing for the institution? Also, you could go all the way down to more specific individual files or account controls that we might look at to just help ensure that sufficient control effectiveness is operating at all levels of the institution.
What key message do you hear from the audit committee with the audit roadmap due to COVID?
My audit committee has been really interested in making sure that in these unusual times, that while the way business is operating is different, that the controls are being addressed appropriately as well to adjust to the types of risks that were occurring now in the environment. For things that are going more electronic or digital, how are we using technology to approach that from our own internal audit perspective? They're very concerned with our audits getting done in this environment that we're in, and do we have the resources we need to address the audits that we've had planned?
I understand that Landmark is in the process of implementing a GRC system. What are some of the considerations for other organizations that would like to implement a GRC system? Could you name like 2 or 3 of those considerations, please?
Yeah, that's correct. We're implementing Logic Gate as our GRC system. Our biggest consideration when we're looking at these systems is what is best for Landmark and not just what's best for a department by department approach. The departments that are using the system include risk, compliance, and audit. We wanted to make sure that strategically the system integrates with each other, provides value to each department. It could share information between the different departments to add value and efficiencies to what they're doing. Additionally, customer service and just how that process went during the whole RFP, demo, decisioning, that had a big influence, I think, on what we ended up going with. Because you could see some systems were just too big for us or too small for us, and it just showed during the process.
I really like what you mentioned about considerations at an enterprise level rather than a department level. Really, that really meets the needs of the overall business rather than just thinking micro level for the department.
That was a big part in our department heads as we strategize on what to go with, because obviously there's some great audit systems out there, but they're not going to integrate well for a consumer compliance in a banking industry, and vice versa for that type of view as well. So I think that was a good balance that we struck when we picked the system that we did.
Grant, as there is a shift from the foot traffic to more digital online banking due to COVID impact, does that shift have any impact on your audit strategy? If yes, how does that shift translate to the change in your audit strategy?
And that's a good one. We did have quite a shift from that in-person interaction with our members to the digital interaction between loan origination, account openings, those type of things did go very much more digital during this environment. As the strategy goes, how we necessarily audit those items doesn't really change. It's the considerations we'd have to put in when, especially with planning, when you're looking at potential fraud risk, red flags, or even just gaining understanding of the information that you now have at hand that could be completely different from just your base understanding that you've had established when everything operates more in a in-person environment.
So it seems that even though the processes have changed from a business standpoint a little bit, however, it doesn't have any impact on the audit strategy, what you need to do.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Grant, for sharing your words of wisdom today. I really appreciate you having on the show and sharing your knowledge with the audit fraternity.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me. This was a great joy. Definitely quite the experience for my career, and I thank you very much.
Friends, if you or anyone you would like to know would like to be on the Internal Audit Today talk show, please let me know. You can email me at pk@globalskillbench.com. Thank you very much.